Mrs. Bass.
Parentalized reading. Well,
Actually,
I think that it should make it, but it's better. And done with directing to YouTube, and now we want, now we're YouTube, and we want to
So I promised not to start the room and it's hard. I saw you like a can.
And I've been voting so I'm gonna go in.
Right, but where's the-
It's not.
So I haven't heard it announced that we're recording, are we?
Usually,
Okay, all right.
It ought to be a way,
it's a place room on the screen. So it says YouTube.
to YouTube, where's the?
And it also says YouTube on one side and Zoom on the other.
It's like funny looking and doing things with.
If you can click on the zoom button, the blue with the camera, the button on the toolbar. Yeah, on the toolbar, in the bottom row.
Come show us what you're talking about, I'm not seeing. That's a.
It was your triple C.
It was fun. Oh. Now, we live stream, but recording talks, no. Got it here.
I'm surprised because.
But up here, I don't know if that's wrong. But we have to do, and we have to click there. There, now we're live.
We all set? As far past, I recall the November meeting, the South Thompson Conservation Commission to order. That's four.
Excuse me, guys. Henry called the meeting to order, and I don't know that anyone that side heard him.
We're waiting for Neil, right?
Well, whenever he turns over.
I mean, I just wanted to make sure. Okay,
Well, I
yeah.
can't guarantee it, but I know he knows about it.
Okay, all right.
So,
I don't think we started a meeting.
Right, yeah. Any other adjustments to the agenda before we get started?
Yes. I have, and I believe Cleo have. You sent a message saying you want something added to the agenda.
hold on, remind me.
That's okay. It was this message that you exchanged. Oh, here comes somebody.
Oh, Neil.
No,
Maybe you can see at the end over there.
that's, you'll be in a tangle of wires there.
There's one here. One-
Okay.
Yeah, all right, so we can move over. And it's important for you to put it on.
So that
We can correct it.
Adjustments.
adjustment,
All right, we got the bags.
yeah,
You have the-
yeah. We were doing an adjustment to the agenda.
Okay.
And you had an email exchange with Carla White on the, resilience, whatever.
Yeah.
And she had pointed out some things on a list, that list of things you could do for the grant. And she said, oh, here's some that look like conservation, and you sent a message saying, no, the Conservation Commission hasn't done any of them, and I will ask to have it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay, and there is, it's been, on the community resilience partnership that is already on the agenda. So why don't I?
Oh, you just want to include it when you get to that.
Okay,
Okay, wait, I have one too, which is just, and you all were included on the email exchange that I heard from John Knorr of the St. George Conservation Commission, who is inviting us along with other towns to collaborate on a presentation in January or February on Brown Tail Moth, and I just fired back saying, I'm sure we'd be interested, but I actually check with them. So you don't have to do much about it now, it's down the road, but I just wanted us
Did
to
we
be
all
aware.
get that email? Because I haven't received email from John.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, well, it was to the Conservation Commission, we
Yeah.
all got his
Yeah.
incoming. And I CC the Conservation Commission in my reply, but it
Yeah, we
sounds,
should thank you for replying.
right. So it's just keeping the door open. He's out of town, I will be in touch with him when he's back and ask what he had in mind for collaborating. And he's also inviting the other nearby towns.
KNOR.
KNUERR.
And I think it's good because it brings more people to attend the talk, so it makes the speakers obviously more willing to show up. You
Oh,
know.
sure. I didn't mean, when we do adjustments to the agenda, I'm just saying, new business, let's add something that we can talk about it then. I'm just flagging it for now. But yes, I agree with you.
All right, so basically, this will be added to the list under old business.
And the new-
We brought up.
This is new business.
Right, but next agenda, it'll end up being under old business.
Oh,
Right, just so we
Yeah.
keep up on what's happening.
okay.
Any other adjustments to the minutes, to the agenda?
No,
All right, I'll review and approve of prior meeting minutes, October 12th, 2022. Any corrections anybody wants to bring up? I will entertain a motion to
I have
accept
a
it.
motion to accept the minutes from the.
I second.
And we have a second, all those in favor?
Yeah, but you should ask.
Hey,
We did that now.
All right, and now we introduction of new commissioner, Neil Cambridge. And I'm assuming this is you.
It is me, actually, I actually checked more.
So who hornswoggled you into this?
Well, we were out on a walk one day, Sophia and West, and, so Neil Cambridge, has been in town 5 years.
Yeah.
Just down the road on Elsack, and, so I've been wanting to do something in town, and, when this first came up, and then it filled up, so I'm happy to have the opportunity to come in and just really just do something for the town.
Thanks.
And then why I was interested in this group is I had a fairly extensive background in sustainability.
Cool.
And along with municipalities and regions and stuff like that. So it just seemed like it definitely speaks to me, and really interested in how we define conservation and what we mean by that, and just really getting involved.
Has anybody given you the regulations and stuff, and
No.
statutes and things like that? I'll see about getting copies to you, so you can read up on that, on what our statutory responsibilities actually are.
I wanted to get a charter. and it
Yes,
just-
yeah, I can get you a.
Well, this document should actually be on the website.
Right, yes, yeah. But I bet we're just trying to make sure that you get a copy of it sometime in the coming months so that you can read up on it. Now, one of the things that, by statute, the Conservation Commission generally have, it's a fairly defined area, but they have, because of speakers and things like that, we are spending a lot of time trying to vitalize the community around certain issues and things like that. So, yeah. All right, well, I'm glad to have you.
Yeah, and the.
I'm Henry, by the way.
Try going.
Do you know everybody else?
Yeah,
I'm
and
sure.
I met Theo in the town,
Catherine,
Spear.
Leslie.
Cindy Garrett,
Okay.
and I'm Sandra Wallace.
Sandra.
I don't want to say the most valuable, but she does the minutes.
Pretty much.
Skill.
Sandra does, we worked on the agenda and Sandra was amazing. Old business, report on the Buttermilk town landing and Buttermilk cleanup. Who wants to do that?
That'd be Leslie, if
Okay.
there's anything to report.
Yeah, she, when they went to the dump, that's why we did.
It was done. We took many trips to the transfer station. It was a little bit discouraging that much rubbish came from just Buttermilk.
Oh,
Right, so more than one load,
Oh, gosh,
approximately,
I'd say, and somebody else had a truck, and I wasn't sure who those people were, and they took, so I'd
yeah,
say,
we're
maybe-
Ralph and,
Yes.
yeah.
I'd say easily 6 loads.
6 loads. then you're talking 15 bags in a row. I
No,
mean, roughly, I just,
it wasn't just bags, though, it was like,
stuff, okay, 6 loads, okay.
yeah. And then we had quite a bit of, cans again, I think.
We did, yeah.
Quite a bit of what?
Cans.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we separated the cans when people brought stuff in,
Right,
and then I took some food to.
I thought it was successful, and one, they did the town line, that couple did the town line.
right.
But as I said, since we had just done buttermilk, not totally long ago, it was pretty discouraging how much stuff.
We already got there.
Very, very.
One of the things I did hear is that some people kind of just want to do it in front of their house.
Yeah.
And I've also, I'm asking this question, do you think specializing, or in particular, the one particular section of road with the largest group of people was a good system?
I think it was, somebody said we missed something, but I don't think there's much.
I think it's community building, because everybody gets together.
Gets together.
Just in front of everyone.
Yeah, the primary thing I like about it is at least everybody's in the same area. And for safety's sake, but there's no reason if somebody calls up and says, listen, I want to do, I live on Dublin Road, I want to do this section.
I know, it's like the whole thing is, I mean, you have the big arteries like buttermilk that really gets the lion's share of the trash.
Right.
Dublin Road is also extremely dirty. I'm sure all along 73, you know,
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff.
Well, so the reason I bring it up is that when we plan the next one, is that when I start putting out the word is to offer both. Is that we're trying to get together a group of, let's say, 10 people to do a section of road.
Well, I think
working
we
together.
should, if we're going to organize, I think we should say, you know, some people are kind of doing it on their own. a little
Right,
bit,
yes,
And I think that these 4 people are going to do buttermilk.
Yeah.
We need somebody to do this, rather than having this go all, make it a little more organized in that respect.
Okay.
Who's going to do this, you know, who's going to do that.
all right, because again, we know we brought up at the previous meeting, is that for the spring cleanup, if we want to do it was in April or the first day, May.
Late April, early May.
But we needed to start, like, end of the March meeting,
Yeah.
Yeah.
definitely have to start figuring this stuff
Oh, we
out.
need to be, yeah.
All right,
You know, we are the whole town. You want everybody to feel that they are being taken care of.
Right.
So you can't always focus on buttermilk.
Right.
I mean, that's
No,
why
no, no.
but it's worth
everybody
doing.
ought to do what they want to do. The key is everybody chips in at cleaning up the road.
Yeah, but
But if
overall,
everyone just goes out to this or that, we're not going to know what's not taken care of.
okay,
Yeah, but it would actually be, you know, I was pushing for bringing all the bags to one location, because we did take photographs of it.
right,
In,
well, thank you.
it was the other kind of place, it's the developer.
Right,
People who don't want to go do that stuff could still come on that day with their bags.
right.
And so we can do both. I mean,
Yeah.
we can do
All right, so
both.
one of the primary things we want to figure out, I don't want to do it this meeting, but when we start talking about this in March, is figuring out whether we want 1 or 2 locations to drop bags off and do
Yeah,
some
I
issues.
think that's
Okay,
critical.
cool.
The drop-off locations,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, if you have too many, yeah.
But, you know, not many, just 2 or 3.
Yeah, well, it's the efficiency of picking it up afterwards. is what that's about.
It's easier, well, if I, you know, I haven't been trucking as much as I came back and I knew just where to come.
Right, yeah,
So that was much
But
easier.
you could have 3 trucks.
okay.
If we do, that'd be
All right, well, we can figure all that out in March,
Nobody
so
else has-
anything else on this particular issue?
You just remember that if people volunteer for this, we need to give their names to Terry
Right.
so that they are covered under the town insurance. And it's particularly important if they're like cleaning up buttermilk or Dublin or 74.
You're on the side of the road, yeah.
We want people to be safe and we want the insurance to cover them. So I know I saw at least one name I've never seen before, somebody who's going to be moving to town. His name is Ken Baumgartner.
Yeah, he's on that.
He's never volunteered for anything before, I don't think, and so the town knows nothing about him. And it's our responsibility to get those names to Terry.
Well, another thing,
Oh,
Val,
Oh, no, that's,
Oh,
Nancy.
Nancy, okay.
another thing that was very helpful is, that John gave the men working time, those times that one.
I have an update on science, and I'll bring that issue up.
That
Right,
was-
She's
okay.
N?
Nancy Gosling, good, yeah.
Oh,
Hi,
she's-
Nancy.
Back.
All right, so we're done with the report on the Buttermilk cleanup. Update plans for educational programming, basic plans, just about rescheduling.
No, that, yes.
On Wednesday, right?
That's me. So we rescheduled to November 16 while keeping our fingers crossed because the speaker had COVID.
Right.
I was in touch with her yesterday and hallelujah, she's feeling better and she's sure she can do the talk. She's going to look over, she was gonna get us a PowerPoint because we're gonna do the tech end for her. She is not a techie. She's gonna work on it this weekend and get something to us early next week. So I don't know if you looked at the notices that have come out or seen the posters we put up, which I think were pretty darn cool, and then a lot of credit goes to Linda for finding this terrific picture.
It was a very neat picture, the big earth with the thing.
Wait a minute. I have one somewhere. It's the next one, so here it is. Yeah, very cool. Honestly, that was pretty classy. So today, when we had to announce that we canceled, we went up and we borrowed, with their permission, the Historical Society's monster sign. Yeah. And it takes two people at least to move it. Anyway, and they let us put our notice out in front of the Historical Society, and then I went down to Penny and said, well, we thought of hauling it down here, but it's out of the question. And how about we do a GoFundMe and get a sign to the library? And she said, I'm thinking about that. I'll just use the slush fund. And she went right out and bought one. And I went down there this afternoon and put the notice for next week's talk on it, and it's out in front of the library now.
Thank you very much.
Black and blue double-sided sign.
Excellent.
So, I could probably use a little help on the day. We've been working with Penny. She has, forgive me if I said some of this at last meeting, I can't remember. But we are going to be using, I forget which name this room has, but because it has 2 doors, we can have twice as many people under the firewalls. So the room that she originally had in mind was equally big, but with 1 door. The firewall test is how many people can get out of there in under 1 minute.
Right.
2 doors really improves your shot at that.
Okay.
So
All right, so when you said you need help, so
on the
Wednesday,
night, there may be chairs to move
Yeah.
and
and
whatever.
it starts at what time? So
6:30,
6:30, so if somebody could show up, you talking 5:30,
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock?
And make turn out.
I'll be there.
We can do that.
All right, so we're all sort of saying we'll be there, so somebody will.
Probably be
Chances are,
oversupplied,
somebody will be there.
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right. Community Resilient Partnership.
Well, I have to say that the group has grown. I think we're up to 11 now, and including Nancy Goslin. I'm sorry you can't see the picture, but she's on that group as well.
Oh, excellent.
Very high energy. And so what we've been focusing on is to do the requirements, doing the enrollment part of the process, and it involves members talking to neighbors and finding out what their priorities are. But the beginning is where are we lacking? You start with your weaknesses and then address, how we can do something with this funding if we get it to folks who wasn't at those weaknesses, and it's been fascinating.
I'm just going to drop back, when you say we get the funding, it's the town, not necessarily the Conservation Commission.
It is not the conservation.
Right, okay.
Absolutely.
Right.
Right, and that was intentional because we're trying to get people from all different points of view.
Right.
We're still missing, I thought we had one, but we don't, with someone from Vision Community. And I think that's critically important, because that's what, working waterfront is. And, I'm negligent because I said I'd call Kristen Tripp and I haven't done that yet. But, I know that we talked to, Wes has talked to Dr. Hamill. And he's interested, he'd like to participate, but he's good at this. So he's definitely in favor of it. The trick now is, we're doing this outreach kind of thing, but, we are meeting with the facilitator on the 20th to plan our first community health program, which will, I think I remember correctly, be in January.
So when you're trying to promote an agenda, maybe get people to come to a meeting, is that something that we're looking at as being under the auspices of the conservation?
No.
Okay, I'm just trying to nail that down. So one way about it is what I heard about the new information you have is ideas that are available through this grant process that might be relevant for a concert.
It could be that way, and I don't know I know I circulated that list of 72 things that were funded.
Right.
And first pass, and
Yes.
you saw what was.
Oh,
being
yes,
funded.
no,
And I went through, in fact, that was part of our last meeting, is I went through and found things that I thought on the Conservation Commission that were particularly relevant to conservation, wetlands and, some of those things, but there's a lot of infrastructure
so
and possibilities. and
yeah,
that's-
as this program, and it looks like it's moving ahead and going through the steps it needs to do, and as it gets to a position where it can actually say, we need to pick a project that we're going to do and see if we can get the funding for it and stuff like that. At that point, there may be a conservation angle where the commission itself is particularly interested.
Well, I wish that you would look at yourselves as individuals in the town
Right.
and answer the question from an individual.
Oh, no, I understand that. Is what I'm trying to get to is the update on this is the update on something that's happening in the town. Not just because we're being recorded. I want everybody to be very aware of this. This is something that's being done by the Conservation Commission. It's a body of people, volunteers in the community that are getting together to do this.
It's not.
It is
conservation.
not the concept.
Yes, I know. That's what I just said. That's what I just said.
When you're looking for somebody from the fishing community, I would suggest you contact Bob Baines. He is, he's a resident of the town, he's on the budget committee, that's the way I know him, but he's been, I think, I don't have the title right, but like president of the Lobstermen's Association. And if he may well be too busy to do it, but he may very well have ideas of people.
That would be terrific. And do you know him? Would you?
He's,
Somebody, I don't know him.
I can, I could get in touch with him and say he's gonna be hearing from you, something like that.
Or maybe we could do it the other way and say that this group is meeting next Sunday at 2:00 at the Butler School.
Well,
You're welcome.
As I say, he's a really busy guy, and he might not be able to come.
No,
But
that's,
a conversation about, here's what this
He might be
project is about,
Yeah,
and
connections.
yeah. and that's what
we
we're
really
looking
need somebody from the fishing community, somebody really knowledgeable from the fishing community, and have you got some suggestions? That's what, I can have that conversation if you like, but I'm not gonna be as knowledgeable as you about what your group has been doing. So either way. And we can talk
Yeah,
after the
like to
meeting and
say
figure out how to do it.
If you want to give me a call,
No, but I was thinking about the first, it was that outreach and education, right? And just an introduction and then kind of this is what we're doing, we were talking about doing prioritization and stuff like that.
yeah, that would be. I think when I think about this initial state, they call it the working group. It's not a committee, it's not anything official.
Mhm.
But the intention was to get people from different backgrounds to come together in the first iteration of it, because especially if it's somebody that's known in the community, so somebody who's in that profession, who's known by a lot of people, if they join the working group, and then the working group has a function, then people in the community are gonna say, oh, I think I'll go to that because so-and-so, you know, is on the working group and he's a good guy or she's a good person, and they'll come too. So that's right now, the people, it's almost in my mind, and of course, I'm only one of 11 people, but, is that we need tentacles into the community.
Yeah.
And that's where we are right now. The community meeting itself is going to be open to everybody and it'll be promoted and it will affect them. Be an official town function to do.
I'm just doing this because of our vast audience. You said a while back that Sunday, 2:00 is the next meeting. And now is that something that you want the public to attend?
No, as a matter of fact, I don't want, well, we had a little bit of a snafu, it came out okay, but right now it's a working group.
Okay,
It's not a public
Yes,
meeting.
yeah.
So people who come should be people who will be working, they're willing to be on the.
all right, so put it this way, Sunday at 2:00, if you want to participate
In the working group.
in the working group, you're meeting at the library at 2:00 on
Yeah.
Sunday.
Then please come.
Yes,
And then just everybody know that in January there will be a.
right. The assumption is when you walk in the door that you're volunteering.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, that's.
Oh, no, you can sit and listen. I just, do you have a question? No.
I like keeping this on the agenda because I do see where the Conservation Commission is concerned about the outcome of all this. But is there anything else particularly that you want to mention at this meeting about that group?
No, except that, you know, talk it up with your friends and neighbors and.
2:00 Sunday, come volunteer.
Well, that too,
Yeah.
but I think more important is the fact that there is one.
Right,
And the process
Thank
is
you. Yes,
going on.
yeah.
Just-
it's already, it's already going. You can join.
Yes,
right.
and yes.
Okay, excellent.
Now, on this number, do you have any comments on that?
No, I just, my thought was just, I just think that inclusion, you know, that's our industry,
Mhm.
right? If we don't have somebody in that conversation at the table, then it's not too good.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it does tend to involve people that have lived here for more than 10 years.
And that's another thing,
Right, I mean, you know, they've got roots here, and, yeah.
yeah.
Anything else? I'm more than willing to listen, I'm just moving along.
No, that's
Yeah,
good.
all right.
Thank you.
Update on, associate members, nothing, okay, in the sense that no one is particularly interested, but with, Nancy is a possibility at some point. We can't see you, Nancy, but thank you very much for showing up again.
She needs to let us know.
Thank you.
It's
It's nice to have a following, you know,
Yeah.
The last time we did it, I was up on the big screen the whole time and I said I didn't really want to be up there the whole time.
Can only be a little itty corner now.
Okay.
Okay, I like that.
Okay, follow up, so we'll go to E, follow-up discussion on opportunities to bring land into conservation status.
All right, so that's kind of what I'm interested in, and, your knowledge may be very useful here, because I did a little going around, and I called the Department of Agriculture, Conservation and Forestry, which is a maze of people and activities and things and that, and, I landed on the Land for Maine Future program, which has been funded in 2021 to the tune of $40 million. Okay, so that's not nothing. And so it's a typical program with funding mechanism with call for proposal once a year. And there are 4 main programs of funding, which is conservation and recreation, water access, working waterfront access protection, working farmland access protection. So I know conservation and recreation is what we would be looking at, but at some point, you know, working waterfront access protection will become important, yeah, and the problem with this program is it's the state of Maine that essentially funds this, and they are looking at acquisition of land. So again, listening, trying to understand, figuring out options, and, you know, before we go to town selectmen, that's my opinion, I'd like to understand what can be done, trying to present a menu of options and then see what the selectmen think and what's worth bringing to town and so forth.
Annette Nagel, right?
Yes.
I'm assuming you've spoken with her.
I'm not yet.
Not yet.
So then I wanted also to try to talk to the town, the district forester. The state is divided in districts and there are foresters attached. And I was wondering if that forester would kindly come around and take a walk, on the property and give me an assessment of what that land is.
The town forest.
Yes, the town that's not the forest. The town property that's not called the town forest.
Okay, all right.
And, just in terms of what trees, are they healthy, what's going on, what should we worry about and things like that. And I'm confident that they would do that and offer that as a service and then possibly explain some more, programs that would be available to help us manage the property or
Right.
do something with it.
Yeah.
And I contacted that person, but she has not gotten back to me yet. And then obviously there is the George River Land Trust, and I'm trying to set up a meeting. So Annette, same thing, having risen up in the ranks, is very busy. And I had asked to have her call me back and didn't give her much leeway, so I'm not heard back. But there is this other young person that I talked to last time. And I think I'm gonna have Monday off, and I would love, to maybe tomorrow call her up and see if we can sit down and have a conversation on this. So it's going to move very, very slowly. Again, the idea is to try to get as much information
Yeah,
as
build a knowledge
possible.
base, yeah.
Yep, and then have a clear menu of options that,
Cool.
could satisfy several needs within the town without costing too many others.
Absolutely.
There's
Anything else?
also someone at Georgia for the Land Trust, and I'm having a brain fart, but, who takes what he calls the stew crew, and they go out to different of their properties and do trail maintenance and so on. Matt, thank you.
Matt Bonner, yeah, he's the manager of the trail.
Yeah, and Matt is very knowledgeable about.
Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah.
All right, but one of the things this allows us to do is if somebody comes to us, or the selectman comes and says, somebody wants to know what they could do with the land, we can
well,
take a knowledgeable answer.
okay, so here, what we had talked about last time is, before we can consider the offer of Jeff Smith
Right.
with his 100 acres. So there is, the town owns 100 acres right behind here. And there is a person who is a resident of Alvin, but he owns 3 separate parcels, which are all abutting those 100 acres.
Mhm.
And he would love to give these 100 acres, give against modest, bargain sale type of transaction.
Yeah.
So that would be 200 acres contiguous land that we could have as forests and, recreation purposes and wildlife protection at the same time. So, trying to get to that end goal, my take is that we need to start with the town property and see if we can get that protected in some way. And the protected, I know it's a loaded word, when I say protected, it means obviously that this town would give up on the idea of selling it for, revenue or whatever. And then that's, it could be exploited for timber if it's recommended and so forth, so be a source of revenue.
Yeah, value extraction.
Yeah, in a sustainable way. And so I think once we can understand what can happen with the town land, and if we succeed in putting that into protection of some sort, then I know the George River Land Trust will be very helpful in helping us with the private part of it.
Yeah.
So,
Anything else on this issue? All right, update concerning mission statement.
No, you jumped.
Oh, I jumped, I'm sorry, update a resource procedure for South Thompson Conservation Commission notices to the public.
So I'm one part of that. In the course of doing all the publicity on this talk, I've been created a list of press contacts, when things have to be gotten in, what the limits are, and so on. And places to put up flyers. And hopefully down the road, for example, if we really get into collaborating with other towns, perhaps we'd be in a position to contact our fellow conservation commissions and say, can you get this information out to your town email list,
Right.
and so on. So it's a work in progress. I'm learning as I go. But down the road, we will have written guidelines on, here's how you do publicity, here's the timetable, here's places you can put up posters, here's places, don't bother, and so on.
I think it's very important to do that because I know I may not be a commissioner forever and then you have one person,
Right.
so people can learn much more easily.
Yeah, if you had a
Right.
folder that all.
Yeah, if we start building a binder.
Yeah.
Here's how to be a conservation commission, here's how to do the various things. Excellent, absolutely. And Henry, you wanted to.
Yes,
talk
I
about
do.
signs.
I've been looking into basically the campaign signs. It's plastic, corrugated plastic signs you can stick up like a campaign sign. I've been going around getting prices, and I gotta admit, it's 6 to 1, half a dozen of them, they're all about the same price. The least expensive one I found, in order to not get hurt for shipping, you have to order more than we need. But basically what I'd like to do is, signs made up of the South Thomas Conservation Commission roadside cleanup, but there's no date on it. That's something that you can add. So you can use these things year after year. And your point about having the men working signs, it might not be a bad idea to say South Thomaston roadside cleanup in progress. Please drive carefully, right? So if at the next meeting, I can get some wording, we can go over and decide whether that's what we want, and then we can go out and start getting prices. When I did talk to one person, they said this is the worst time to try to get company campaign signs because they're doing really well and they don't need your business.
Yeah.
You know, February is a good time. to
Yeah.
do it. Or it is, so that's the other side of this, this particular aspect in the agenda, is just looking at that. So I'm going around, I'm finding out that by the time we're done, we're looking at spending maybe $14 to $16 per sign.
First time.
Yeah, but, and if we do depending on how many we decide we need about the safety factor, like those safety signs, we might be able to get it to a point where you pay less per sign, but you end up spending more money because you're buying more signs.
How many people do you need?
Well, I looked at the advertising one for roadside cleanups and stuff like that. It'd be nice to have them in 4 or 5 places in town, you know. I mean, you look at the major intersections of roads and stuff like that.
50? Not that many?
Oh, no, I'm thinking more like 10 or 12.
Oh.
Yeah, because you only could do like a section at a time.
Right, yeah, it's for the safety signs. I mean, the concept of having everybody come in and get one, I've noticed in 2 roadside cleanups that people tend just to do it and then show up and say, I did it. They don't come first and sign up and stuff like that. So it's not a question of that. It's just if we're doing a particular section of road, and we've got 3 teams of 4 people going out to different sections, they can take a pair of these signs and block off their section of road.
But you would need like a sign, like for in progress, but buttermilk, either end, that's 2 right there.
Right.
I don't think that's enough for buttermilk, for example. I think I'd put a 6 on buttermilk.
Well, if you send in a group
You know
of 2 or
what I'm
3 people
Yeah.
out, you.
That's why I
hand it
said
out.
maybe not 50, I'd say maybe 30.
Right.
I mean, this buttermilk.
Yeah,
Okay.
and even Dublin, people drive
Yeah.
so darn fast.
All right, well, I gotta admit, this sort of puts my numbers a little bit different than I was looking at, because I was thinking about 10, and so next time,
Yeah.
at the next meeting,
You might-
I'll have prices based on 25.
And maybe, yeah, I think maybe
Okay.
the more you.
Right. Okay, so that's what
So,
that,
and you could get both rates.
well, I mean, there is a small shift in price going down if you order
No,
more,
I-
but you could end up spending more money to save money per time,
No, but if we have a real use for them.
Yes, yeah, well, particularly the safety factor of it,
Yeah.
I really like the idea of putting those out. So that's what's happening there. Progress report updates the town website and conservation webpage.
You jumped again.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I keep
Now
adding
we got
that.
mission
Okay, certain mission statement, yes.
He's got a hot day there.
Oh, no.
It's dyslexia.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the mission statement, it turned out that nothing had previously been sent to the select board.
I felt that.
Something fell between the cracks. So I did send
It would be
an-
me, I'm the crack.
Because I asked, and
I sent it and I CC'd the Conservation Commission. So I sent it October 26th. And hopefully we will show up and the next select board under correspondence,
Okay,
and they will start doing whatever they're
Bless
going to do. Bless you.
Sorry.
all right. So that's it on the mission statement. Now we're finding down progress report, update town website, and conservation webpage.
And that's me, and I just haven't had time,
Okay.
so there's no progress.
All right, so we'll just move that and just leave that one alone. Update on disposition of maps. Okay.
All right, showtime.
The reason I'm holding this up is we have a whole bunch of maps. All of them are using the same matrix, but they show different, some of the wetlands, some are wildlife habitat, some are uplands. And things like that. But on this map,
Yeah, that's good.
right now, Australia, this area right here, this is South Thomaston. And the rest of this map is somebody else. Now, this is, if I took this in a big square, it's 19 by 15 inches. I think I can get this map broken down into two laminated pieces. In other words, I can cut this and laminate it twice. There's a whole nother set of these in the tube. So they're held together, and Sandra was saying, if we want that done, we can put them in a blue film, put a whole bunch in it. And that way, when we're looking at some particular piece, because there's no place to hang these maps up, it's just this area. So depending on the size of the lamination, if I can get it from this other place, it's not particularly expensive. I'd like to have like maybe an inch extra all the way around, so I'm looking at more closer to 18 to 22 inches. If that's the case, and I'm doing them myself, I'm gonna have to break it down into three pieces.
so if you had this, would this be about this size?
Or I'm gonna cut this right out. I'll just cut it. I have a whole other set of these maps, so, you know, they're all in a tube, and so I'll just cut this out with an inch perimeter. Now, I'll probably cut it here as opposed to doing this part. Right, but that's what I'm thinking of doing. And then there is, each one of them has, a legend. And what I'm thinking of doing is take a photograph of the legend and then put that on the back of the page when they laminate it, so that when you want to look at it and go, well, what's this mean? You know, you can look it up. Most of them are self-evident, but not a bad thing to do. And I get a number, you know, so that we're looking at them, and if somebody says, well, we're looking at this road, you can say, well, there's a huge wetland in there, which may be a concern and an issue that we're going or not, you know. But that'll just make this available to us without having to stand here like this.
Actually, the wetland one would be very useful to the planning board as well.
You know, once it's in the book, they can be clear. Now, the other thing is on these maps, the Conservation Commission really needs storage someplace in this building. For things like this and for records and stuff.
I would guess it's not gonna happen.
All right,
I mean, maybe one of the commissioners has a little space that things can be stored in, but for one thing, things stored here have a powerful tendency to disappear completely.
all right, well, we can take that issue up another
No.
time.
What have you got?
Oh,
I don't know.
We'll get
Well-
into it, yeah.
one of them was, if you recall, at some select board meeting, they tossed off the idea that it'd be good for the Conservation Commission to look into the plans that the town had paid Gartley and Dorsey to do on how to develop the park area down by the landing. And so I told told the guys that I thought that was fine, and I'd be happy to take a look, and where do the plans be found? Well, they're in the office somewhere. Nobody's been able to find them. Well, that's one of them. It's a little embarrassing to go to Bartley and Dorsey, but that's what we may have to do the same. Once upon a time, I'm told,
Copy of that, please. I really like a digital
So-
copy, just.
honestly,
It was so nice, the first one we went to.
whatever. Anyway,
This was planned at the town landing?
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
But there might be another option. The community center.
That's a better option. That's what we keep our cleanup supplies.
What,
Yeah, there, I don't know how. We'd have to ask Penny, is that really feasible, you know, how much space she got? 'Cause
Sure.
I think she's starting to feel like, where do we put this?
Mhm.
Like today as we're putting together this new sign to put out, she says, I wonder where I'm gonna keep it when it's not out.
right.
You
I
know?
mean, I gotta admit, I'm talking about municipal records.
Yeah.
They shouldn't, they should
They
be.
should be the.
They should, but should and is are really different.
I mean, I don't consider this a huge pressing issue in the sense of where it's kept, but it does need to kind of happen, you know? There should be a place for hard copies of our minutes and all this kind of stuff, you know, things like that. Anyways,
Well, I think maybe minutes, she does have a book of hard copies.
yeah, good, yeah.
I won't swear to it, but I think I heard something to that.
Why, yes, and I mean, as the chairman of the Conservation Commission, I should know the answer to that, so I'll come down and find out the answer to that.
Mhm.
You know, we can propose installing a shelf somewhere and keep the binders of these things.
Right, yeah. You can, yes.
Huh?
I do.
What's that?
I think there's someplace here that we.
Yeah, put a file cabinet, yeah, we'll figure something out, we'll get it going. So then, collection of aluminum, any other, does anybody else have any other questions about maps?
No,
Okay,
I do. I
yes,
do, because I know when we had the ad hoc for the commission that was established, there was a map that had, open areas that were forested.
yeah,
Is that down there too? Is
that's,
that-
Yes.
they have unfragmented blocks of land and stuff like that, that's a particular, forest covered a
You got
particular
that
map,
one, though.
yes,
That's
yeah,
an awesome map.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see that again.
Okay, well, and that's kind of the, as I said, there's 2 copies of these, so I don't feel bad about cutting one up.
Yeah.
And the other ones are 2, if you ever need the whole thing.
Because one of our primary mandates in our bylaws is to record and know where all of the open land, undeveloped land,
Right,
whether it's privately held or owned
Yeah.
by the town. And that's something that to me that is, I think it's a real pressing duty for this commission.
right. The one thing that I didn't find in the maps that I really wanted was an overlay of what the topography was and what the environment was, but also where the property.
Well, because these trees.
So I know, I understand they do, but it'd be nice to have in the sense that if you start trying to do a list of where the wetlands are and stuff like that, you do a list of which blocks of land that they actually are part of, and stuff like that. That way, if somebody comes in and says, are there wetlands on my property, they can go look up the thing and say, well, actually there are, or there aren't, according to the maps.
I would love to have one of Jeff's property, just a real close-up one for that.
Yeah.
And I'd like to try walking that a little bit.
Yeah,
But
that
I
way
use-
ourselves, you know, try to figure out.
just
But even
Those
get
200
some
acres,
tips,
I
you
know.
know, with the orange thing.
Well, you don't know the story, but quick little story, because Linda, yeah, walking, we thought it was going to be a, you know, I don't know, what do you think, half an hour, like 3 hours later, we're like bushwhacking through, and
Yeah.
this guy, I'm saying, you know your land, you know where we are, right? None of us knew where we were, and there was no trails, but I'd love to see a really, there's a little map in there, I'd like to.
Well, this one here.
I mean, there's a
Yes.
clear path,
Yeah,
but
it has
depends
property
on
markers.
private
Property
property on the
markers.
other hand, and people have been trying to let people go through, you know, but, when you go you know, like that. It's nice to have a loop so that if you park, you know, you can actually get back to your car. And, you know, there is obviously a trail that has been heavily used by four-wheelers or something like that. So
I'm talking back here.
big grass.
Yeah, I've traveled.
But also, you know, it took us to an area which has a very sweet pond and, you know,
Yeah, well,
beautiful corners. And,
well,
so
his 100 acres and the town's 100, I mean, that's a 200 unfragmented block. of land. I mean, there's a road going along one edge of it, but that's it. I live on the other side of that. so.
yeah, so then you can have to walk through.
Yeah.
That's what I like to see, really,
Yeah.
that.
You know, I don't know if something like it's available at a larger scale.
Yeah, I mean, that would show.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
anyway, just,
Okay, so now, collection of aluminum cans,
I forgot.
please bring them in. Somebody
What's
did.
our balance?
I will tell you at the next meeting, I took the ones from our cleanup, and I didn't, there were so many of them, I just said here.
Yeah.
And because they counted them and they put it in the book for us.
All right,
Um,
any new business?
Yes.
Well,
the
can
new
I ask
business
you,
I
did we
added.
actually do the update on possible associate members? 'Cause I
Yes,
haven't-
We did do that,
We
yeah.
went by it saying we had no update.
Right, that's
Did
when
you
we,
have an update?
we thank Nancy for being there. and-
Yeah, okay, all right. So
And Sally is an associate, correct?
Sally is an associate member, and I'm surprised she's not here.
So new business,
Well, that, the piece I added about collaborating with St. George's Conservation Commission
right,
on, he's calling it, a program or they're talking about having several speakers, I'm not quite sure. I'll find out more when he's back in town and I can talk to him. But, you know, what our role would be on, but I'm sure we'd be glad. Part of it is completely up our alley. And he's also inviting Alsed and Thomaston. And I'd just like to maybe springboard from this and say, let's talk about regularly collaborating or thinking about it as we all do stuff. You know, sharing, getting publicity out.
Right.
Sharing, bringing in speakers or whatever we're gonna do. I
think
just
it-
wanted to know, I mean, I just
I think
dumped
it's a
this on the
wonderful-
table today
it's
and
a
I
wonderful
want to know
idea.
people's thoughts about where we might like to go with this
It might be
idea
nice to have biannual meeting.
of all of our.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, just, you know, one in the summer, one in the winter, something like that, of everybody. I mean, I don't do that many.
Well, it's-
Thomas is
It's
doing-
one peninsula.
Yeah.
And that did that one.
Yeah, exactly, like that. Maybe
That
one in the
hosted
summer.
by George's River.
It was, but it was, she got together exactly what you're talking about.
Mhm.
There was like 5 different conservation commissions.
Excellent.
In fact, I remember Thomas didn't have much of anything left.
They kind of faded away, but
They,
maybe
they,
they'll come
they
back.
Yeah.
faded away, I think they did.
And that, maybe
That would be a
start with that
great
once a
idea.
year, a summer thing, like bringing, you know. picnic.
Yeah,
That was fun, that was fun.
What's the name of that point when we did it?
Fort Trail.
Yeah.
Yes, it was very, very nice.
That's
Yeah.
impressive.
You know, it's something that's the real idea. Yeah.
Oh,
All right, so basically, just under new business, it's about opening up lines of collaboration with other towns on the peninsula. Essentially is what we're talking, not necessarily limiting it to them, but that's the ones we're most particularly interested in.
Well, that's sort of where I'd start.
Right, yes, right.
Young as we are.
Yeah.
I think the idea of annual or semi-annual meetings is great. I do think then there ought to be some planning ahead for, are there issues we'd like to tackle together when we're all together? You know,
Right.
what's at the front of your agenda and how can we actually
Help each other.
well, and use the time well while we're together?
Right,
Sharing of best practices or, you know, we try them at work.
one of the things we could think about, just over the next months, is think about what we might want to put forward. And you were like that, get in touch and when they're having a meeting, go down. You know, cast these ideas in front of them, but we need to firm them up a little bit more before we go on to that. But I think it's the right thing to do, not just a good thing, it's the right thing to do.
Right, if we get to know each other.
Yeah.
And who are the
Yeah.
commissioners? What are their interests and their strengths and,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
then we can start forming a functional.
yeah, it's a
network.
broader knowledge base, you know, can't hurt.
And there'll be tons of overlap on initiatives.
Oh,
Say that again?
yeah.
There'll be tons of overlap on initiatives.
Yeah,
Economy.
yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so basically, we'll sort of add that as an agenda item in the future, is how coordination with other CCs is going, right? Just keep it alive, so we don't forget about it, okay? I'm gonna put that in my thing. Items for the next agenda, which we just kind of talked about adding that. I also read a couple other things that I put my notes that when we get together to do the draft agenda and stuff like that, we'll add them all in. So is there any other business that anybody else wants to bring up?
No business, but I just, sort of maybe just, how can I help and where can I add value and capacity in terms of whatever's needed? So,
Why don't we think on that?
yeah.
Well, from what you said, is there anything that tickles your fancy?
Well,
But I'm just, if there's, I mean, additional help.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. So that is-
Do we have your phone number?
Nor my email.
It's, I'll
That's
give it
serious.
to you now, it's, 207-450.
Sorry, 207.
450-0777.
And so.
Oh,
And the
I'm
landline
gonna,
is still.
in the future, just write it down, because we're on camera.
Can I look at the minutes?
What's that again?
I'm very sorry, but we're on camera, and so
No,
next
no,
time,
we-
just.
but
all
we
right.
can actually do our-
It's not that we have a huge following, but. You wanna bring it?
It's on a few websites.
Yeah, okay, all right, right. I do look at this effort for collaboration.
Not in a
I
minute.
really think that's important. If that's the kind of thing you think you have the character for, you know, you don't seem shy about butting on people.
And, but what, I mean, I've sort of got a bit of a funny oddball background, but I've done a lot of group collaboration, facilitation.
Yeah.
And then on the sustainability side, a kind of a deep dive in terms of what makes up sustainability.
Well, that was the question I was gonna ask. What are we sustaining?
So I spent about 3 to 4 years working with some folks around the world on a model to understand that.
Right.
So it's not necessarily used that, but necessarily what some of the thinking is in that,
Yeah.
right? And this was like building something that people who are diametrically opposed on climate issues could actually say, well, yeah, we agree on that.
Right.
So to the extent I can kind of help bring some of that thinking
Right.
and connections and resources, and then just, hands on the table and feet on the floor and picking up cans and all that good jazz.
Yeah.
Are you on the board of the job development by any chance?
No, I work I'm a volunteer on the trail.
On the trail.
Yeah.
All right, good. Can leave the chainsaw gang.
The stew crew, I love that.
Let's do
Is there any other business? then? Hearing none.
I make the motion to.
Adjourn. So what are you looking for? We have a second? Yes, we probably do. All in favor, say aye.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Come again.
Will do.
Thank you, Nancy.
Bye.
Hi.
Bye.
Yeah.
Nice meeting. Thank you.
I'm curious about that work and,
Yeah, that's what I wanted to,
Money changes. Oh,
I work.
And basically, for 8 years.
So-
Stop line.
You know, try to